I'm Mark Robertson back with you on my YouTube channel, Mark Robertson Talks, where we cover a wide range of issues. And today's topic, don't back away from controversy, very simply, abortion and Planned Parenthood and the evil that it is and that it brings about and the harm that it causes society, women, men, children, the murder rate, and everything else. It is just pure evil. There's no good from abortion at all. They're now selling body parts of aborted children. It's pure evil. And the abortion industry basically was legalized in this country through lies. First of all, Roe v. Wade, 1973, January 22nd. It was Norma McCorvey, the original plaintiff, was lied to by lawyers. She was just an innocent young woman. She eventually converted to Catholicism and became a strong pro-lifer before her death. And so it was a lie from the beginning. And they claimed that they always used was that, yes, maybe abortion's bad, but we don't want these women to have these back alley abortions that kill thousands and thousands of women a year. That was a total lie to begin with. How do we know? Dr. Bernard Nathanson, a former abortionist who was involved in as many as 70,000 abortions, later also left the abortion industry and converted to Catholicism and became a pro-life activist, said they just made up the numbers. They just made them up out of thin air. They lie. The abortion industry is all about lying and making things up. It's all about the cash, actually. They want the cash. They want the abortion. They want the blood money. And it's very important. And they'll say anything or do anything to keep that going. But Bernard Nathanson became a strong pro-life advocate. He exposed the horrors of the abortion industry and what it's really all about. And it's not about women. They couldn't care less about women. And of course, they don't care about the children that they're killing by the millions around the world every year. This country, abortion rate has gone down a bit, but one abortion's too many. Many as a million a year have been killed. About 60 million since Roe v. Wade passed by an unconstitutional act. The Supreme Court, another one. There's no way that 7 people in black robes can decide the fate of 60 million young babies. It's totally, the founders never had that intended. I'm totally against abortion, but if you're going to vote for abortion, that has to be a state issue. Some states had already had it legalized. But to make one sweeping ruling, it's bad law, the first thing, and it's unconstitutional the way they did it. There is no way that the founders ever intended for this much power to be invested in a few people, and the devastation that it has brought to our country. Like I say, 60 million lives snuffed out, so many millions of women harmed, both physically, mentally, spiritually. The harm that it has brought to society, they cause us not to value human life, causes society not to value human life. Snuffed out 3,000 a day killed by abortion in this country alone, many more around the world, of course. So it's all based on a lie. It's all about the cash. And we do have people that were in the abortion industry exposing all this for us. Abby Johnson, she wrote a book called Unplanned and then made a movie called Unplanned. And she was in high level in the abortion industry. And she's also pointed out all the lies in the industry that they advance. It's sick people involved in it. These are cold, cruel places. These doctors, these so-called doctors and nurses, they don't care at all about the women. Give me the money. It's all about the cash. And, it's about agenda, too. These people are far left radicals. And as we've seen, it's about the cash. They kill the babies. And as has been exposed, they sell the baby parts. David DeLayden was a pro-lifer who recorded these undercover videos exposing Planned Parenthood and the evil of how they kill a child and then they sell the body parts, and they would just talk about it like it's selling anything, and it's ridiculous, cold, cruel people. And the ironic story is that David DeLayden is the one that's being prosecuted by the courts in California for some these trivial laws that he supposedly broke, but not the people that kill children and tear up the bodies and sell the body parts. They're not being prosecuted, just David DeLayden. So our world is turned upside down in many ways. And so much lie, so much fraud. It's about the money. The abortion industry goes so deep. and it has tentacles into a lot of things. So anytime anybody goes against it, the army of lawyers and all other forces come down on them. And that's what's happened to David Daleiden and so many others who have gone against this evil industry that is all about money and evil and even power. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. It's a definite major stain on our society and our free country. And it's sad that it can happen. It's unbelievably horrific that it can happen in our country, that abortion is legal, that 3,000 kids a day are killed by abortion. And as we see in New York and elsewhere, in Virginia, these insane governors and legislatures have passed laws that now babies can be killed after birth. Well, really, it's a location thing anyway. There's really no difference between a baby in the mother's womb and after birth, but it just makes you more aware that that's what they're doing. They're killing live human beings, all in the name of so-called choice. And it's my body, my choice. That's another total lie. The child in the mother is a totally separate body biologically. It's a totally separate human being. You are squashing a human life when you are killing a child. And then they put all these lies on the abortion semantics, pro-choice, anti-choice, pro. They get mad at us for calling ourselves pro-life. We say we're not pro-life. They actually claim that they're pro-life. It's semantics. They turn the world upside down, and it's not their body. That's a lie. And what is the man? Is it part of the man's body as well? The child. The child wouldn't be there if it weren't for the man. So there's a whole another area to talk about and to think about as well. That doesn't get considered. And like I say, the semantics is a major part. Semantics is a major part of the left throughout history. Whatever horrors they're doing, they can rationalize anything. So this is how they rationalize killing 1 million babies a year. It's about choice. It's not about being pro-abortion. They really get upset at you if you call them pro-abortion. Well, if they're for something to be allowed to happen, then they're for it. They're pro-abortion. But boy, they hate that. And what's wrong with abortion anyway? I thought it was just a clump of flesh. Is it not killing a child? So why do they get defensive? One of the biggest jokes is they say they want it safe, legal, and rare. That is pathetic and laughable. They want as many abortions as possible. They're trying to shut down crisis pregnancy centers, these wonderful centers staffed mostly by volunteers, even medical volunteers, and who help mothers who become pregnant before, during, and after birth. There's much support, caring, and love in these centers, and the pro-aborts want to shut them down. So the argument is that we who are pro-life don't care about the child after she is born. But then we do care about it. We have evidence, but we have all these crisis pregnancy centers and all these churches in other ways, and all these other organizations that help mothers who are having children and unplanned pregnancies, or even planned pregnancies, who would eventually decide that they want to have an abortion. There's so much support out there, but the pro-aborts, want to shut them down. They hate this, so they're lying there too. It's not about. They're not actually worried about the child. It's I really don't even understand why they are so adamant about abortion and wanting abortion to happen. I guess it's something to do with the free love, free sex movement. They don't like to be told what to do, and they want to keep abortion as an option, and they don't want to be made to feel guilty or look bad about having these babies. It's not really, they want it not to be known that it is a baby, and so it's just a clump of cells in the body, and they can have it taken care of. They continue their recreational sex and free love and things like this. It's likely what it's all about. It's about guilt. So these people are warped. They don't think in normal ways. Everything they say is a lie, and it's not about life. It's not about the child being born into poverty. That's another one. They don't want them born into poverty. Well, so many famous people have been born into poverty. Not that being not famous is bad, but that doesn't have anything to do with it either. A child, you ask that child in the womb if they want to be born, if they knew they were going to grow up poor, 100% of them would say yes. And so it's crazy. That's another lie that they put forth. And it's just on and on and on, the lying. And Another lie is, well, abortion it's just a minor procedure and doesn't really affect the women negatively at all. That's the biggest lie of all. It harms women physically, spiritually, mentally, and it scars them for life. And it brings about guilt that they not even aware of that comes back in years. Even women who supposedly weren't bothered by the abortion, they'll get a major episode of guilt and depression coming on later on. And it really it harms women. Like I say, physically, there's been links to abortion and breast cancer. Of course, the left denies that. They go out of their way to deny that and to shut that down. They don't want any truth getting out there. And but women are greatly harmed. It's a mental case and physical, mentally, and spiritual. And there's a group called Silent No More Awareness Campaign. It's made up of literally thousands of women who regret their abortions. And there's even men in the group now who maybe were agreed with the abortion, but now regret it as well. And all these women talk of the great anguish they have gone through since they had the abortion, and all the lies put forth that abortion really isn't that big a deal. It's just a minor procedure, and it's healthcare. That's my favorite. It's healthcare. They call it healthcare. They call abortion healthcare. So killing a child is healthcare. That's another semantic lie that they use. But abortion harms on so many fronts in so many ways. You have I read a story just yesterday about a nurse who came out of the abortion industry who said very often they'd have to call the hospital to come and rescue a woman who had a problem with the abortion, complications, or a doctor who brought harm, made mistakes, and they'd have to call the hospital to come and rescue the woman and take her to the hospital and save her life quite often. So it's these doctors, they're not even doctors, they're often very inferior doctors, and this is what they do. They kill babies for a living, I guess, and they rationalize it too. I remember a famous abortion doctor, and people would see him jogging, and he'd wear these headsets and play loud music. And of course, he's trying to block out what he's actually doing. That's all they live in denial. It's all about denial and rationality. I mean, of course, Hitler rationalized killing 6 million Jewish people and others. And so you can rationalize about anything, and it's all rationalized. They say, oh, it's women's health, it's women's issues, it's a woman's body, and men or other women don't have a right to tell them what to do. And so it's just lie top to bottom, and it's all they know how to do. And then, boy, if you bring a Bible around or anything and say the Bible is against abortion, they'll call you a liar there too. It's kind of like with the marriage situation. But one of my favorite quotes in the Bible related to abortion, they'll deny this as well, but before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, Jeremiah 1:5. Each child is a creation of God in the womb. You know, they say that people are against abortion except for rape and incest. And as evil as they are, rape and incest, that child is still innocent. And you say, well, how could God create a child like that? You know, I don't have all the answers. I'm not sitting here being a know-it-all, but I do know that child is a creation of God, and they deserve to live as well. It's painful, it's awful, but there are so many stories of women who were victims of rape, who became pregnant and then had the child, and they were so glad that they did, and the child grows up and has a happy life. And so that's a very tough situation, but they also used the rape and incest situation as well to lie about it. I'm not denying that that's a tough situation, but a child is a child, and it's taking a life. And then we talked about Planned Parenthood before. Planned Parenthood is simply an evil organization. It was founded by eugenicist and racist Margaret Sanger. She considered African Americans and others inferior, and African American to be an inferior race, and she basically wanted to, what you see, largely eliminate the race. And it's so their beginnings. And then that's another thing. Matter of fact, recently in New York, the Planned Parenthood organization there basically eliminated Margaret Sanger from that she was even part of the organization. Took her name down and things like that, and denied that. But so then they go back inside and start killing babies again, and so it makes no sense as well. But even now, they know that she was a racist and eugenicist, and they're trying to separate themselves from her. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. They're still a killing organization, and she, even if they acknowledge that she was a racist, they still go back and kill the babies. So it means nothing. These people are evil. They're warped minds. They're thinking. They don't think logically. They know they don't think logically. It makes no sense. They live in a total state of denial. And they have to be, in rationalization. Planned Parenthood kills over 300,000 babies a year at their sites and their abortuaries. And of course, all the abortion mills in the country. It varies. The numbers are down a bit, but it's roughly 1 million a year lately. At one point, it was almost 1.5 million a year. So it has gone down. I guess you could say that's good news, but one abortion is too many. And we talked about earlier, Planned Parenthood was caught on video talking about how they sell baby parts. And then they've come out and deny it. And like I said, they have prosecuted David Daleiden, the man who made the videos, the undercover videos, catching them. Not Planned Parenthood, for killing babies and selling their body parts. I'll never forget. One of them said, you know what it's all about? It's about the cash. They asked one woman, she's supposedly a doctor, and they asked her what selling these baby body parts were all about. She says she wants to buy a fancy new car. And so that's, it's all about the money. It's all about the cash. And they're just not good people. They're lowlifes is what they are. And they think, then they rationalize it and sell these body parts. And I've seen pictures of these babies cut up on tables, and they talk about them like it's nothing. I mean, it's just like selling, anything. It's totally sick. And then taxpayers, we have to pay for this, a lot of it. We pay them $500 million a year, Planned Parenthood, to keep them going. And it's pathetic. It shouldn't happen. And Republicans have talked about maybe defunding Planned Parenthood, but when push comes to shove, they never actually do it. It's pathetic. They're weak as well. Yes, we vote Republican because they are the pro-life party, but and they're not the virulently pro-abortion party like the Democrats. But a lot of times they are weak and they don't really follow through. And we keep voting for them, and they even sometimes, in my opinion, use the abortion industry or abortion as a wedge to get pro-life votes. And there are some very committed pro-lifers. Rick Santorum, who's not in the Senate anymore, he was defeated probably because he was so pro-life. And but a lot of others use the issue just to get pro-life votes. Yes, they'll voice things that are somewhat pro-life, but there are not a lot of passionately pro-life Republicans in Congress. President Trump has been very pro-life, and he actually was the first president to speak at the March for Life and in person. President Reagan was very pro-life. President Bush, 43, was very pro-life. He was against the stem cell, things like that. That's another whole ball of wax, stem cell, and what we get into issues like that and ethics. But it's all about the life and how they harm people, and they don't really care. The stem cell even, it's like what they don't want to be told, that they're on the pro-life track. That wasn't really even about helping people. It's just they don't want to have pro-lifers have a win. They don't want to get the ball rolling in a pro-life direction. So they come out and say, well, stem cells, embryonic stem cells help people. They don't actually, there's no record of embryonic stem cells helping people. But they still come out and say they could in the future because they don't want the pro-lifers to get a win and then another win and get the ball rolling in that direction. And Planned Parenthood has been very bad for African Americans, and 40% of African American pregnancies in abortion, and there are actually more African American babies killed in New York by abortion than are born, and so it's just pathetic. And the Planned Parenthood we were talking about, it also pushes sexuality and promiscuity on the young, and it has a whole section or part on the website where it pushes things to teens such as sadomasochism, things like this. They want to get them sexually active, And the younger, the better. They're behind all these insane sex education courses that are all about getting kids sexually active, and so that they can be future abortion customers. Of course, it's an evil operation and an evil organization, and it's they want to get them early and get them sexually active, and they don't care about STDs. They act like they provide contraception, but like we talked about earlier, contraception is all about increasing abortions, because increased use of contraception actually increases abortion. I know some of you watching this may not even agree with that, but there's so much proof of that. As a matter of fact, the head of Planned Parenthood International, Malcolm Potts, said that in the 1980s, that an increased access to contraception actually increases abortion. And it makes sense. It increases sexual activity. So most people who get abortion, most women who get abortions, are on some form of contraception. And so it just makes sense. And that's another lie by the left, that increased contraception access decreases abortion. They know it doesn't. The reason why Planned Parenthood pushes contraception is because they know it actually increases abortion. That's why they provide it, but they act like, well, we're providing this for women because we're helping them out. No, they're providing it because they know it increases abortion in the long run. Again, it's all about the cash, and they hit it from every front. Like I say, they push it. They want teens sexually active. If you go to the American Life Lead, their division there called STOP, STOPP, chronicles all the evil put forth to teens. And as the STOP is a good place to look about the evil of Planned Parenthood in general, but it exposes all these videos that they put out. They're sick. I didn't want to talk about a lot of it, what it's on these videos, and perversion, and how they try to get teens to be sexually active and talk about sex and get it in their minds so they'll become sexually active. And of course, then have become pregnant, or have a situation where a woman becomes pregnant, a girl, and they go to Planned Parenthood, pay the money for the abortion. So it's all a vicious circle. It's sick. And I read an interesting stat. We talk about abortion and the African Americans. Planned Parenthood kills as many blacks in 4 days as the KKK killed in 150 years. So, and then there's 79% of Planned Parenthoods in the major cities are within walking distance of African Americans and Hispanic communities, and it's ridiculous. They're actually, Planned Parenthood is a leading killer of unarmed African Americans. If you want to look at it that way, it's maybe controversial, but that's the case. It's really, it harms African Americans. Actually, Margaret Sanger's dream is coming true. It's a nightmare, though. And once again, Planned Parenthood, it's not about helping women. It's all about the cash. The whole abortion industry is all about the cash. It has nothing to do with helping women. It's all a lie. It's all about, there's so many evil forces pushing it. You got the population control people, yes. We don't have an overpopulation problem. We have an underpopulation problem. It's a birth dearth. Most countries are below the replacement level in birth. So that's another lie. Everything they put forth is a lie. And we need more kids in this country. And as a matter of fact, Hungary had a program where they encouraged mothers and fathers to have more babies. And it's worked. There have been a birth explosion there in Hungary. And it's a great news. More kids, the better. And that's wonderful. And of course, Planned Parenthood and the left is all about shutting down kids. They lie about overpopulation as well. So many lies. But what's the answer to all this? They say, well, the left provides answers: more contraception, safe sex. No, that's not the answer. The answer is to get sex in a proper perspective. The sexual revolution has thrown everything out of whack. You get all the lies from Alfred Kinsey and Hugh Hefner and all this other stuff. Sex has to return to traditional values. It's about marriage. Sexual activity is for marriage. Anytime sexual activity gets outside of marriage between a man and a woman, all heck breaks loose. It's chaos, and it harms societies. And a lot of tyrants know this. They encourage sexual promiscuity and immorality because they know they can control the people better. But that's why they hate the family. We talked about that in our last broadcast, that attacks on the family. But the left pushes recreational sex. and they want to treat it as a sport even. And it's nothing. It causes harm. It's not just an innocent activity. It brings great harm psychologically, physically. I mean, we know about STDs. STDs in the 1960s, there were a couple STDs, and now there's well over 30. And they even deny that, but that's the case. It's morphed into pillaged generations and brought great harm, physical harm to so many. It's such a lie, and the safe sex lie. I mean, you're going to put your life in a little piece of material. Do you think that's going to save your life? I mean, are you idiots? It's crazy, and it brings so much harm. Sex outside of marriage, a monogamous relationship between a man and a woman, causes great harm, and it just takes common sense and basic knowledge. It's not, you don't even have to be an expert. I've talked before about a lady named Vicki Thorne. She has great talks on YouTube about having sex with more than one partner. Whoever has sex with them has sex with all those people. I mean, go and look at her videos on YouTube. She talks about that. Great videos and great information that she has. It's not anywhere. And the biology of sex. And John Paul talked about that as well, St. John Paul and his theology of the body. But sex is meant for marriage, and even within marriage, there are various lines that you don't cross. So it's very simple, but yet very powerful. And that's the answer. It's returning to traditional morals. The Bible. The Bible is a good handbook for life. You know, even if there weren't an afterlife, it's very common sense actually. And we got to get back to that and stop all this devastation. 1 million babies a year killed by abortion, all the harm of the sexual revolution, and how it's devastated the family. Abortion greatly harms the family as well, because the father and the mother know that they've killed a child, but I have no doubt that instinctively siblings know that they've lost a child, even if they weren't ever officially told, and it harms them as well. So it brings great harm to children, even the children that are born. Obviously, it kills the children in the womb, but it's nothing good comes from abortion. It's all evil. And they say, well, sometimes you have to have an abortion for life of the mother. Well, that is so rare these days with modern medicine. It's not even an issue, hardly. Now, there are some faiths that do allow for that, as in self-defense, and other faiths say, well, you try to save them both, do all you can to save them both. And so that's a whole different issue to get into. It's not even an issue with the left. With the left, it's all about agenda and the cash and abortion, keep it flowing, keep the blood money flowing, and they don't want that to stop. It's evil. It's very bad people involved in it. It's all lies. It's all misinformation on purpose, designed to confuse people. They have misdirection. They say it's about choice. It's not. It's all about free love and not having consequences, and the cash to the abortion providers. So there's nothing good about abortion, once again. We thank you for watching today. I did want to mention, before we go, the last time we talked about the assaults on the family, and I, once again, forgot to mention a couple books I got a lot of information from, but one is from William Bennett, The Broken Hearth. Bill Bennett may be known to a number of people. He had a number of positions in the government and education secretary, and he's been a long-time writer on family and morality and things along those lines. Very good book, The Broken Hearth by William J. Bennett. Highly recommended. You can learn what's happened to the family and all the things arrayed against it in society these days. All the forces arrayed against it, and the family is the foundation of society, and it's under attack for that very reason. And then also The Sexual State is very good as well, and by Jennifer Roback Morse, and she has an institute called the Ruth Institute. Look into that as well. It's a very good organization. But this is a very good book. Tells you where we are today and how we got there, and all the problems, divorce and family breakup and things like that. I'd recommend those two books. It's all kind of related. Abortion, attacks on the family, the left just trying to undermine everything. But it has to be fought back against. And of course, we can fight it actually directly and then with prayers, rosaries, and things like this. But it has to be fought against, or our society will not survive. But we thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Take care.